than the narrow road, the armcos, the walls, and your wheels, because you're positioning your wheels with the armco all the time, and you are cutting it as close as that, or even more, between the space of your front tire or your rear tire and the armco, going at 100, 200, 250 kilometers an hour. So it's a tremendous excitement to drive around Monte Carlo.
Act 2, the start of the race. Until now, the drivers have battled against the stopwatch, against themselves. Now their opponents are lined up alongside them. The car in front has to be passed, the one behind contained. Blowing the start and losing ground means trying to catch up for the duration of the race. And what if you stall? The cars behind might well collide. And the first turn, perhaps the race will be lost or severely compromised. A certain apprehension takes over. Focus is key. The world is reduced to a rev counter, a green light, or the starter's flag.
The start in Monaco is very important to get to the first corner first, because then if you made no mistakes, you were pretty good for the race. But the start of the race for Louis Chiron, if you knew where you were going, and I only looked at Louis Chiron, and I only looked at his legs. Because when he got the flag up, because of his age, he couldn't bring it down without bending his legs. So if he bent his legs, he meant that he could not hold the flag any longer, so you went.
The race is finally underway. In the 1930s, 100 laps took 4 hours. Today it is faster and more intense, and rarely goes the full 2 hours. Monaco means 3,000 gear changes and 300 kilometers an hour at the end of the tunnel. Power has increased constantly, but the track is as narrow as ever. During the 80s, the cars attained 1,000 horsepower. A mechanical violence that grips and seizes the drivers. A calm and clear head is essential.
There's no point in constantly attacking someone at every corner. Very often, people who try that end up wearing out their brakes, the motor overheats really quickly, or you end up losing or breaking a wing. From time to time, it's more important to drop behind and then come back, to show the driver in front that you're faster, to apply a little psychological pressure. It's as much about psychology as about driving skills. But overtaking the leader, on equal terms, the second-placed car passing the leader, unless the leader makes mistakes, it's impossible. It's practically impossible.
The leader is in a position of force, and yet the leader does not always win. There are pressures to bear, even the intimidation of the cars behind. And then there is luck.
There's a proverb that says you have to make your own luck, and I think that applies completely to Monaco. But it's true that it's impossible to win in Monaco without a minimum of luck.
79th lap, and the crowd and the drivers and everyone else believe that it's over, that Jim Clark can't be beaten. And yet on the next lap, the 21st Monaco Grand Prix sees true drama. Nobody was expecting it. Jim Clark blocks his gearbox at the gasometer turn, and the Scottish driver is bitterly disappointed to have to retire from the race. Graham Hill takes advantage of the situation to move into the lead.
2 years later, in 1965, Hill himself appeared to have lost the race.
Here we are. Look out! That's Graham Hill, the leader, going down the escape route at the chicane.
To avoid hitting a straggler, Hill decides to veer off the circuit. He climbs out of the car, pushes it back on track, sets off in 4th place and finally wins. Graham Hill made his own luck.
There you see his car stalled, and Graham getting back into it.
Bruce McLaren attempts to restart his Cooper. Monaco is often a race by elimination, and every year sees abandons and disappointments. Joe Sifford runs out of petrol in sight of the finish. The cars suffer, the drivers too. James Hunt abandons close to the casino. Ronnie Peterson ends the race on foot, dejected and beaten, just feet away from sympathetic or critical spectators. Sterling Moss leaves his crippled Mercedes, his face blackened by exhaust fumes. An endless list of accidental heroes or glorious failures. 1972. Jean-Pierre Beltoise leads the race as the rain pours down. The conditions are appalling, grip and visibility at a minimum. His BRM makes a spectacular skid and the race is almost lost. But Beltoise corrects his error and continues to a victory that his peers can only respect and applaud. Is it luck? Yes. Is it talent? Of course. Being a driver means trying one's luck, attempting to dominate it, pushing it to the limit, or suffering its consequences. Even more so than at the neighboring casino, each Grand Prix sees the laws of chance playing a part. In 1982, 3 laps from the end and the race almost won, Alain Prost collided with the wall. But one man's misfortune is another man's victory. A distant second, Riccardo Patrese was only too surprised to shake the prince's hand and receive his crown. The record, however, goes to 3-time world champion Sir Jack Brabham. Leading the 1970 race at the last turn, victory was snatched away just 200 meters from the finish line.
I should have won that race really, but unfortunately there was a car run out of petrol just before that corner, and I moved to the wrong side of the track and it was all sandy down there, and then I couldn't quite stop for the corner. And then I just touched the fence and stalled the engine, but somebody jumped over the fence to push the car, and I was trying to stop them from doing that, but they overbalanced and fell on the front of the car, and they were laying on the car, so I couldn't very well go off.
Jochen Rindt crossed the line in front, but the race director was expecting Brabham and let him go past without waving the checkered flag. The 1970 Grand Prix therefore lasted 1 lap longer. On a normal circuit, the victory ceremony can sometimes appear artificial and repetitive. The winner in Monaco gets the real red carpet treatment, climbing the steps to meet a prince and a princess. A unique occasion when he joins a highly select and prestigious roll of honor. Only the great have conquered here. Juan Manuel Fangio, twice a winner. Sterling Moss with 3 victories. Scotsman Jackie Stewart, 3 Grand Prix wins, and proud of a victory in Formula 3 which revealed his talent. Graham Hill, 5 times a winner. Niki Lauda, 2 first places, like Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard. Alain Prost, 4 wins. Ayrton Senna, a 6-time winner, like Michael Schumacher up till now.
It's a really unusual circuit and totally crazy. The whole track is just insane from a driving point of view, but at the same time it's a really motivating challenge. If the race goes well, it's very satisfying. And for a driver, the mere fact of finishing the race is a great satisfaction, and to actually win the race is an immense pleasure.
My best memory of Monaco would be that I actually won the Grand Prix here. I remember being on the track just before the finish, when the crowd was cheering and my teammates were applauding. And then the prince gave me the trophies. Then you start spraying the champagne. And there's a great party. That's one of the best things I remember about the Monaco Grand Prix.
Our everyday gestures depend on our physical strengths and weaknesses. Taking a seat in a Formula One car changes the scale of our sensations. The slightest pressure on a pedal can propel you up to 300 kilometers an hour. Exceptional eyesight is required, extraordinary precision, and a sense of balance and resistance to gravity worthy of an acrobat. The best drivers in the world appear to be blessed with another unusual quality, an often excessive degree of self-confidence.
I drove with confidence that, you know, it wasn't going to happen to me, whilst recognising the fact that if you come around a corner and there's oil on the circuit, you may have an accident through no fault of yours, or you may come around a corner, there's a car in the way and you bang into it. So I accepted those risks, but I never anticipated having an accident as a result of a mistake on my part.
Racing drivers are more than skilled behind the wheel and able to avoid accidents more than most. But competition pushes them to their limits, and danger is constantly lurking. For a tennis player, a mistake means hitting the ball beyond a line. For a driver, it means hitting a barrier, and the outcome is not the same. But awareness of this aspect is often secondary. For the drivers, contact with another car or the wall signifies losing the race. An abandon or even an injury are primarily regarded as setbacks in the pursuit of victory. This detachment is often seen as a form of courage. It fascinates the crowds, creating heroes and even idols. Spectators do not come in the hope of seeing accidents, but because that risk exists, the daring is all the more admirable. In Monaco, the walls are closer, the exercise more perilous, the admiration more intense.
The biggest danger in Monaco, in my view, is the risk of collision. A car which hits another and flies over it, it can go anywhere, particularly in the slope up the casino, because there are S-bends, and there's often a car going slower and another which overtakes really, really close. A car can easily take off there or come crashing down behind, and it's the same at the tunnel. There are 2 or 3 very tricky places. Otherwise, the risks of a driver spinning off by himself are no greater here than elsewhere, because the speed is often reduced here. And despite everything, it's the circuit that has evolved the most over the years in terms of what can be done concerning safety. The track marshals are trained extremely well, and cars can be removed very quickly. All these things are very important.
We've done everything we can with the authorities, the fire department, the police, ambulances, emergency services, with 43 specialists around the track, 150 doctors, a special squad from the Paris Fire Brigade, a crisis team that can deal with up to 80 patients. And all that is fine in theory. But what would actually happen if, unfortunately, we had to mobilize them all?
1967. In the Ferrari number 18, Lorenzo Bandini. Dennis Holm is in the lead. Bandini is in pursuit.
Bandini, second place car, headed for the tobacconist.
He is Italian, a racing driver, representing Ferrari. There is no greater destiny.
Down where the old railroad station used to be. Lorenzo Bandini.
Lorenzo loves Monaco and has already finished second here.
Home today, he closed within 7 seconds at one point, but then has been dropping back. Terribly hard race even to finish, Phil, isn't it?
Really fatiguing.
And there goes Home again through the chicane. Mediterranean sun glinting behind the rooftops now in the late afternoon. Now Bandini. Bandini's crashed.
Good Lord, look at that.
The car, it looks like it's upside down, Phil. Tremendous fire. This is gasoline, remember, they use in these automobiles. Terrible fire, and that is one of the other cars going through. The race is continuing. There's somebody coming out. There are firemen stationed around the course here.
Bandini loses control on the 82nd lap. Fire spreads over the car and the track, devouring the Ferrari and Lorenzo. Seriously burned, he would die 3 days later. The other cars continue to race.
There's his teammate, Chris Amon, going by, just about room to get by through the smoke, and very close to the flames.
The Bandini accident was a special accident, and it was at a time when that type of accident could not be dealt with in the same fashion as today. The car was more fragile. The fuel tanks were not managed with regards to the leakage of fuel and the control of the fire. The equipment around the track today is very sophisticated, and you can put a fire out very quickly. And the objects that he hit would not be there today. So much has happened, which I'm very proud to be part of in the